Welcome everyone. In previous session, we have seen about implicit wait. So to solve the synchronization problem, we have to use wait commands in Selenium. There are two types, implicit wait and explicit wait. If you haven't seen the previous session, I would request you all to please see that session first. In that session, we have explained about synchronization problem, time.sleep, and why we should not use time.sleep for synchronization problem. We have also seen benefits of using implicit wait and how to implement the implicit wait. So everything we have covered in our previous session. In today's session, we will focus upon explicit wait in Selenium. So what is explicit wait? Explicit wait allows you to define a specific condition and wait until that condition is met or a timeout is reached. So in Selenium with Python, explicit wait is a mechanism that allows you to pause the execution of your code until a certain condition is met or a specific element is visible. For example, there can be multiple conditions which are there. For example, specific element is visible, whether it is clickable or whether that element is present on a page. So depending on the conditions, we can apply the explicit wait. So it is a mechanism that allows you to pause the execution of your code until certain condition is met. It is a way to ensure that WebDriver waits for a specific condition before proceeding further with the test execution. We will see practically example as well. So I will show you first the example. Now I will just go to PyCharm. Let's create a new Python file. So I have created a Python file. Now in this Python file, I will just use or copy the code from our previous session in which we have used implicit wait. So I am just copying this code. So let's paste that code here. So this is the code which we have seen in our last session. So basically here we are creating options class object, Chrome options, in which we are adding experimental option and passing two values, detach and true. By passing this, why we are doing this is basically to keep the browser open after the script ends. Passing browser driver to executable path. Here we are creating a service class object and we are passing executable path of our browser driver, Chrome driver.exe, that is the browser driver path which we are passing it in executable path in the service class object. Then we are creating the driver instance by using webdriver.chrome, in which we are passing service class object and Chrome options as arguments. And then we have used implicit wait here. So we have seen about the implicit wait. It will be applicable across all the elements. So it will wait up to 10 seconds if the element is visible. If element gets visible before 10 seconds, it will proceed to next steps in our script. So I will just quickly run this file. So what this will do, let's execute this file first. Basically it is an implicit wait only. So we will be using same website. So now it will launch the website. Then it will log in with admin credentials and then it will click on my info. So that is by using implicit wait we have seen. Now what I will do is I will just remove the implicit wait because we have to see explicit wait now. So explicit wait is applicable on specific element. We can apply explicit wait for specific elements with some conditions which we want to verify. For example, so if you go, so in Selenium with Python, explicit wait is a mechanism that allows you to pause the execution of code until a certain condition is met or the specific element is visible, clickable or present on the web page. So it will halt for that specific element. So explicit waits are useful when we know that certain element may not appear immediately on the web page, or it can take some time to become interactable. So instead of using fixed sleep times which can be inefficient and unreliable, explicit wait provides a more precise and efficient way to wait for a specific condition. So let's go to PyCharm. So now we have removed the implicit wait. Now let's see what will happen. So we know, we have seen in previous session as well. Let's execute it. It will throw the exception because the page loading takes some time. So when we execute this script, now if you see, let's run this script. So to load the page, it's taking time, but our script is going forward. So it is not able to find out the element which is getting loaded. In this case, let's say username. Now this field is loading after a certain time, but our script is moved to next step and it is not able to find out the username field. That's why if you see, it is showing the error or it is throwing the exception. It is throwing no such element exception. By using implicit wait, we have seen how to resolve it. Now we will see by using explicit wait how we can resolve it. Now what we will do is, explicit wait we can apply on elements. We can apply on element with certain condition which we can check. Now in this situation, what I will do, I will be applying explicit wait for this username field. So I will apply the condition that we should hold the script or we should pause the script until this username field is visible on our page. So until and unless this username field is not visible, we should not go ahead. So I will apply in the condition that username field should be visible. That is the condition. So I am just closing it now, minimizing it. So for explicit wait, there are two steps. For explicit wait, there are two steps. First, we have to declare the explicit wait and then we can use that explicit wait object. So let's see how to do that. So this is the script which I have copied from our last session, which will basically open that website and it will log in and it will click on my info. So after creating, or if you see after driver.get, this is basically opening the website. So what I will do, I will create one object. Let's say my_wait. This is the object which we are creating. So we have to use WebDriver wait class, WebDriver wait. So we have to import this class. So I am just importing this WebDriver wait class and we have to create the object. So we have created one object myWait for the WebDriver wait class and we have imported that WebDriver wait class. Here we have to pass two arguments. First one is driver and we have to pass 10 seconds. Now this is the maximum timeout. Now this time is basically the maximum time, right? Now this is basically a declaration of our explicit wait. This is kind of a declaration. This is not the actual use. This is the declaration of explicit wait. Now after declaring, we have seen that explicit wait is applicable on elements. We can apply the explicit wait on elements for certain conditions. Now in this example which we have seen, I will be applying it on username field. So now next step is using that explicit wait object. So what I will do, now this statement will open the website. After that, what I am writing, myWait, that is the object which we have created, dot until. So this is the method myWait dot until method. In this method, we have to use expected conditions module. So I am just using expected conditions. This is the module in Python. If you hover on this, it will say you to import it. So I am just importing expected conditions. So these are the conditions. There are multiple conditions. For example, if you see, we can use multiple conditions. For example, alert is present, whether the element exists, whether the element is visible, title contains, title is visible text. So there are number of conditions which we can check. So which condition I want to check is, so one more point is here. So if you see, this is kind of a lengthy. So whenever the module name is lengthy, we can use the concept of alias, right? So we can use the concept of alias here. Alias is basically when we are importing these expected conditions, I can use as EC. That means instead of writing everywhere these expected conditions, I can use its alias, that is EC. It is kind of a renaming it for the, so instead of writing expected condition, I can simply use EC. It is a alias for expected conditions module. So here we have defined it, right? Expected conditions as EC, and so now I am using EC. And when you use EC dot, it will show all the conditions here. If you see all the conditions, there are number of conditions. Any of URL to be, element to be clickable, visibility of element located, presence of element located. So there are different conditions which we can use with explicit wait. So now what I want to use is, I want to check simply visibility of element located. So that I am selecting. So my wait dot until expected condition dot visibility of element located. And in this we have to pass the XPath or whatever the locator which we want to use. And if you use the explicit wait here for this username field which we are going to locate, we don't have to actually use driver.find element. It is inclusive in explicit wait. So here we are created the object, then we are using until method. After that ec.visibility of element located, and in this we have to pass this locator. This is the locator for username field. So we are verifying that until and unless, so our script will be paused until this element gets visible. So I am just posting it here. So this is the XPath, this is the locator which we have provided here. And this, so once you use this statement, once you use this explicit wait, so this is the condition basically. So our script will wait until this condition becomes true. That means until and unless this element gets visible on the page. So whatever the which condition we have used, visibility of element located. So it will wait until this element gets visible on the web page. Then only this condition will become true, and it will return the web element. So now we can define one web element. Let's say username field. So it will return the web element when this condition become true. So we don't have to actually use this driver.find element for username field. So this is inclusive in our explicit wait. So here it will return the element. If this condition becomes true, it will return the element username field. So we don't have to actually use this statement. So it will wait until this condition becomes true. This statement will return element after that condition becomes true. And after that we can simply click on username field. So I am just using username underscore field dot click, or we have to send the values, right? So we can use send keys. And we can pass the value of admin. So here we haven't used any implicit wait. If you see, we are applying explicit wait condition. And what is the condition is visibility of element located. So until and unless that element gets located on our web page, it will pause the script. It will not proceed further. But up to what time it will pause? Now let's say there is some bug in our application due to which this username field is not present at all. So it is not going to come at all. So if that element is not going to come, so this script will be remain on hold only. But if you see this statement while creating the my wait, which is the object of WebDriver wait, we have applied some maximum timeout. So it will wait up to 10 seconds. So up to 10 seconds, if the element is not appearing, this condition is not becoming true, up to 10 seconds, after that the timeout exception will be raised. After that timeout exception will be raised, because even after 10 seconds, so we can apply any seconds here, we can apply 10 or 20 or 30 seconds. So it will wait up to that time, maximum time, that is, this is basically the maximum time up to which it will wait for that condition to become true. If this condition becomes true in 2 seconds, it will return the element, and within 2 seconds it will proceed further. So this is how we can basically use explicit wait here. Now let's execute this script and let's check what happens. So I am just executing this script. So it will launch the browser. Now it is waiting for the element to be visible. So as soon as the element gets visible, it will move further. It is able to log in. But if you see the next statement, in which it is supposed to click on this my info section, but it is not clicking on my info, because again it's the same synchronization problem. So previously when we used implicit wait, it was resolved because that one statement was applicable to all the statements, all the elements. But here we have applied explicit wait to username field first, but after that, after login, that my info section also taking some time to load. And that's why our script is again giving exception, no such element exception, because script move further. So script executed to next steps before even that my info section is loaded. So for username field we have applied explicit wait, that's why it's work fine. Now we have to apply the explicit wait for my info field as well, my info section as well. So how to apply it? So again the same strategy. What I will do, so this is basically password, submit, click, up to this it is working fine. Now this is where actually our script is failing. So before this, what I will do, I will again define my info, that is the element which will be returned if the condition becomes true. So I will just use my wait dot until, my wait dot until, then we can use ec dot the condition. So now this time I am just putting some condition again, visibility of element located, and we have to pass the locator for it. So I will just pass this locator. So once we pass this locator, we don't have to actually use this driver.find element again, because it is already inclusive in this statement. So if this condition becomes true, that is visibility of element located of this my info section, my info locator, if this becomes true within 10 seconds, it will return this element, it will return this web element. So I will simply use this web element and we can perform the click on it, my info dot click. So it will click on that element. So we have applied the explicit wait on 2 elements, right? So now let's again execute this script. So now let's execute this script. Now this time it should work fine. So it is launching the browser. After launching the browser, it is taking some time and it is waiting for the visibility of username field. So as soon as it is loaded, it is now clicking on my info as well, right? So this time it worked perfectly fine. If you see, there are no exception. That means our code got executed successfully. Here we have used explicit wait. So let's revise one more time. So explicit wait allows you to define a specific condition and wait until the condition is met or timeout is reached. So we have used 10-second timeout. It provides more control over the waiting behavior and can be applied to specific element or actions. In our case, we have applied on couple of elements, that is my info and username field, because those were the field which were actually taking some time to load. So we have applied on couple of elements. And what are the different conditions? There are a number of conditions. Alert is present, element exists, element is visible, title contains, title is, visible text, So if you see, there are multiple methods, multiple conditions are there. It is a mechanism that allows us to pause the execution of your code until that condition is met. Explicit waits are useful when we know that certain element may not appear immediately or the web page, or it may take some time to become interactable. The explicit wait requires you to define a maximum amount of time to wait and the expected condition that needs to be fulfilled before proceeding. So in this case, in this example, we have used 10 seconds as a maximum timeout, and we have used the condition of visibility of element located. This is the condition which we have used. It repeatedly checks the condition at regular intervals until either the condition is met or the maximum wait time is reached. So if you mention the 10 second as maximum timeout, and even after that timeout also, if that condition is not becoming true, that means if that element is not visible, it will throw the timeout exception. So this way the script can wait until the desired condition is satisfied and then continue with the execution without unnecessary delays. In the example, we have used explicit wait for the element to become visible on the web page. We have used a condition which will take the visibility of the element to be located. The WebDriver wait class is initialized with a maximum wait of 10 seconds. If you see, we have initialized the WebDriver wait class. This is the declaration of explicit wait. We have done it for one time only. This is the declaration, my wait object we have created with timeout of 10 seconds. Maximum timeout of 10 seconds. And then we use the until method of the WebDriver wait instance that takes expected condition as a parameter. If you see, we have used myWait.until method that takes expected condition as a parameter, which defined using expected conditions module, and then we can apply condition which we want to check, right? So we have used visibility of element located condition. So once that condition is met, wait.until method returns the element. If you see, this method will return the element. This method will return the element if this condition is met. It will store it in username field. So it will return the element username field. And then we can perform username field dot send keys. Further actions we can perform. And if the condition is not met within the specified time, then timeout exception will be raised. By using explicit wait, you can make the Selenium script more robust and avoid unnecessary delays while waiting for elements or conditions to be met on the web page. Finding element is inclusive while using the explicit wait. So if we are using the explicit wait, we don't need to write driver.findElement again for that specific element. One more point is we can handle the exception in it. So if you see, by using the ignored exceptions, we can use in it to handle the exception. So I will just show you. So now let's say whenever we have created my wait object, we have passed 3 arguments, right? Driver dot and 10 second as a maximum timeout. Here we can also use ignored exceptions equals to, we can specify, let's say, various type of exception which could be raised. For example, it will ignore those exceptions. It will, if you declare it right away, it will ignore those exceptions and it will proceed further to next steps. Instead of writing different exception time, it is also fine if you simply write like this. So ignored exceptions equals to, within square bracket we can simply write exception. So it will cover all the exception and you have to import this exception. So it will cover all the exception. So this is the one way by which we can also handle the exceptions as well directly while declaring this explicit wait. One more disadvantage is, so what is the disadvantage of using explicit wait is, it is kind of a complex compared to implicit wait. Using the explicit wait, it is bit complex compared to implicit wait. and we have to use it at multiple places. So it is at the element level, right? It is for the elements. So we have to use at multiple places if there are delays in our loading of the web page. So we have to use it for multiple places. So this is all about the explicit wait in Python. So we have covered both the types, that is implicit wait, and we have also covered explicit wait. Thanks for watching this video. In coming session, we will see about the difference between driver.findElement and driver.findElements. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to my channel for more videos.